Today we're going to visit the Arctic. This is a place at the very top of the world, the most northerly place on Earth. Along with Antarctica, it's one of the two polar regions. They are called polar because they're the places where the two poles are, the North Pole and the South Pole. The area that the Arctic covers could also be known by another name, the Arctic Circle. This name comes from the fact that the Arctic forms a circle around the top of the Earth at a latitude of 66 degrees. The places that come within this circle are the Arctic Ocean and the North Pole, as well as the northern parts of countries like Russia, Canada, America, Sweden and Norway. When you're north of the Arctic Circle, you get at least one day a year in the summer when the sun is in the sky for 24 hours a day, and at least one day a year in the winter when it's dark for 24 hours a day. This is because the Earth is not perfectly straight, it's actually at a small angle. This means that in the summer, the Arctic points at the sun, and in the winter it's hidden by the rest of the Earth. The climate of the Arctic is of course quite cold. It doesn't really rain here, and it actually gets so little rain that it can be called a desert. It sometimes snows, and because there's a high level of wind, snow often gets carried around in the air. Temperatures in the winter months can fall very low, often as low as -40 degrees C. The coldest temperature ever recorded was as low as -68 degrees C. A lot of the Arctic is covered by the Arctic Ocean, which is large and deep and covered with a thick layer of ice. This ice floats around on top of the water. On the land around the ocean, when you're north of the Arctic Circle, you don't really get trees anymore. There are still some animals up here though. Over millions of years they've evolved to survive in this environment, such as by becoming white to camouflage themselves. The biggest animal here is the polar bear, which mainly eats things like seals. There are also a few different kinds of whale up here too. More than many other places, the Arctic is feeling the effects of global warming. The slowly rising temperature of the planet is causing the ice in the Arctic to melt. The amount of ice in the Arctic is measured every September, and almost every year it gets a bit smaller. Scientists have predicted that in a few decades' time, perhaps even as early as September 2040, there won't be any ice left. This will of course have a very negative impact on the animals that live here, like the polar bear. They live on the ice and won't be able to survive without it. But although there are a lot of negative things that will happen because of global warming, some people have also seen some positive things, at least as far as humans are concerned. If some of the ice melts up in the Arctic, this will mean that ships will be able to travel more easily through this area. This would be called the Northwest Passage, and it would mean that the Arctic would become an important trade route. It would also make the Arctic an easier place for fishing and for tourism. The Arctic also has a large amount of natural resources under the ground, such as oil and gas and minerals. This has meant that a number of different countries have started competing for land in the Arctic, or competing for who owns which part of the Arctic. According to international law, no country is allowed to own the land around the North Pole, nor much of the ocean around it. The countries around the Arctic are allowed to control an area up to 230 miles off their own coast. But beyond that, no country is allowed to take land for themselves. However, this law has not stopped countries trying. The most famous example was in 2007, when Russia used a submarine to put its flag on the ocean floor, right underneath the North Pole. The Russian scientist who did this said, "I don't give a damn what all these foreign politicians there are saying about this. If someone doesn't like this, let them go down themselves. The Arctic has always been Russian." Of course, many other countries don't agree. Whether it's because of global warming, wildlife, economics or politics, The Arctic is surely going to be an important place in the years to come.